Was aimed to be a translation management system that covers the need of both language service buyers and providers. It consists of different menus. The first one that we can see here is the dashboard, where we can see some data about quotes, projects, client jobs, external jobs, internal jobs, client invoices, vendor invoices, some info about the TMLAB community. There's also a window with my tasks and also a financial balance report down here. The items of the dashboard may vary based on the role we have within the system. Right now, the user I'm using for this, the purpose of this demo is General Manager, so I have everything displayed here. Looking at the menu, as you can see, the first menu is subscription. This is where you can manage your subscription. Once you register to our system, the user or the account will be a starter account, which is a completely free plan. Should you wish to use all the functionalities of the system, you might want to change your plan and move to the freelancer or a professional plan. If you want to do that, you can do it on the subscription, creating a payment method and then changing your plan. Moving forward on the account settings, you can see several sub-menus. The first one is user. So here you can manage your user information like your avatar, your email address, gender, etc. If you want to change the language of the user interface, you can do so on this menu on the user interface language. On the company, you can manage the data of your company, that is of your complete account. Here you can upload a logo, you can change your business name, account type, etc. There are several information you can manage here. You can of course set your time zone, your mother language, you can provide a brief introduction of your company, you can upload your portfolio or CV, you may set your availability, so you could say that I'm not available from one particular time till another date, and you may also provide information of why you are not available. Or you can also set the system IDs here, so you can set a prefix and an ID for your quotes and a prefix and an ID for your projects as well. So for example, if you had been using some sort of ID for your previous projects and you don't want to start it all over again from zero or from one, that is from scratch, you may set the first or the next ID number of your quotes and of your projects as well. Down here you can monitor the storage of your account. So depending on your plan, you may have different storage allocated to your account. Here you can see how much your actual storage is and what is the maximum storage according to your subscription plan. As you can see, as I'm a starter, my maximum storage is 100 megabytes. If you want to change any setting, you may do so, and once changed, you need to click on save or save and close to save those settings. On the public profile settings, you can make yourself visible in our public list of companies. There are two kinds of two lists. there is the list of language service buyers, and there's another list of the language service providers. So that is, let's say the language service buyers can be the companies or LSPs. The language service providers can be the freelancers or even LSPs as well. So should you want to make yourself visible in any of the lists or even in both, just check the checkbox and provide the information or select the information you want to provide to your public profile. So for example, you may want to provide your business name, your logo, company time, whatever. If you have any attachments uploaded to your account, you can select the attachment you want to make public as well. On the finance, you can set your financial data. So, for example, your billing address, your tax ID, your base currency, banking information, payment information, invoicing as well. On the checklists, you can create your own checklists that can be allocated to any of your projects. For example, I have my first checklist already created. So if I click on this icon, you can see that these are the items I have within my checklist. So what is a checklist? If you select a checklist allocated to a job, you need to confirm that you have checked all those items for that particular job. You can of course create any number of checklists with a lot of items within it. So again, you can manage your checklists under the checklists menu. On the services, you can create your own services. So the services you provide, you as a language service provider, let's say, or even as a freelancer. As you can see, I already have two services created, one from English United States to French Canada and the other to Spanish Mexico. If you want to create a new service, just click on Create Service, provide the service type, the languages, the unit price, and you can easily create it. On the fields of expertise, you can manage the fields you feel comfortable working in. So there is a central list of fields that you can choose from. To do so, you can create. You need to click on Choose and select the field you want to add to your list of fields. However, if the field you feel comfortable working in is not listed in our central list, you can create a new one that will not be added to our central list, but will only be added to your account. Moving forward, there is the software. So on the software, you can manage your software. That is the software you feel comfortable working with. Again, there is a central list of software that we thought are the most common ones. So if you want to select one from there, you can do so by clicking on Choose. Of course, you can create your own software. To do so, you need to click on Create New Software. Again, this will not be added to our central list, so it will only be added to your own account. Under Priority, you can create any kind of priority you want. By default, each and every account has a priority created called Normal with 0% surcharge. As you can see, I already have two other priorities created. ASAP, which is 100% surcharge, and Urgent, which is 40% surcharge. To create a new priority, you need to click on Create New Priority, provide a name to your priority and the surcharge. On the CAT calculation, our system at launch supports the CAT analysis of SDR Trados Studio 2011, 2014, 15, 17, and 19. Of course, we are planning to implement supporting other CAT tools as well. To create a CAT matrix, you can use an XML-based analysis report as well, but you can, of course, define your own fuzzy match and match bands as well. As you can see, I already have two CAT matrices created. If you click on the eye icon, you can see that I have the weight already set, the minimum fuzzy match and maximum fuzzy match set for the fuzzy matches. This is a customized analysis with internal fuzzy matches, etc. Of course, as I said, you can create any number of CAT matrices that you will later on be able to use for your projects. To do so, you just need to click on Create New CAT Matrix. On the templates, you can manage your PO and quote templates. So the PO, that is the purchase order template, is the template used to automatically create POs in PDF, so purchase orders in PDF. So once you allocate or assign a job to your vendor, a PO is created automatically and can be downloaded in PDF format. For that, generic template is used within the system. However, two blocks, the block before the PO details and the block after the PO details, can be customized. So here you can customize the text you want to have displayed in your PO template. Very similar, there is a quote template used for generating quotes in PDF. Again, two text blocks, one before and one after the quote details, can be customized within the system. So if you want to add your own terms and conditions or whatever text you may want to display on your quote, you may do so by customizing your quote template. Both with PO templates and quote templates, you have a preview button where you can preview how your PDF export will look like. So there was account settings. On the colleagues, as you might guess, you can manage your colleagues. There is a filter in the upper section of this page where you can filter your colleagues based on their expertise, software. You can also group your colleagues within the colleague groups, and you can of course create a new colleague. To do so, you just need to click on Create New Colleague. As you can see, I already have two colleagues within this account. That is one colleague and I myself. So if you want to display the details of a colleague, just need to click on the plus icon and you can see the profile page of your colleagues. You can also check the other colleague just clicking on the plus, and also what is important, on the availability you can see which colleague is available and which is busy. So if you have a colleague who is working on some other internal job, then you'll have a label called busy here, and if you click on it you can see what job he or she is working on. As I said, you can also group your colleagues. So if you click on the colleague groups, you can create some groups where you can group your colleagues. So, for example, you might want to create a group called project managers, maybe sales staff, maybe management, and then you can use these groups to filter your colleagues. On the clients, again, as you might guess, you can manage your clients. This page has also a filter in the upper section, so you can filter your clients based on their type. So, for example, you may want to filter just the language service provider clients or only the corporations. You can do so with the client type filter. There is also a filter for countries, client groups, and account manager. So if you want to filter only the clients that are uh, assigned to one particular client who is managing that account, you can do so by using the account manager filter. Just as with colleagues, you can group your clients as well. So you can create uh, groups of clients. So, for example, I don't know, bad payer clients or very good clients or special clients or maybe a group of companies, etc. So you can do so on the client groups. To create a new client, you just need to click on Create New Client, fill in the form with the required information, and save it. If you want to check the profile page of a client, just click on the eye icon and the detailed profile page is displayed. You can see uh, there the number of completed projects. You can also rate your clients. You can see all the data you've provided to your client. You can see the contacts, the client contacts, so the assigned colleagues, so who is responsible within your company to dealing with this particular client. You can also see the client's contacts. You can display the details of that particular contact if you click on the plus icon. Well, of course, you can also see the expertise and software you've provided. You can see what services you are providing to that particular client, at what rate. You can see the client's financial information, again, the ones that have already been provided, the quotes, projects, and client jobs related to this particular client. Very similar to clients, we have the vendors menu where we can manage the vendors of our account. Again, you have a detailed filter in the upper part of this page where you can filter, for example, based on vendor group or based on source and target language, service type, mother language, field of expertise, software, or even rating. So, for example, if you wanted to select a vendor for English United States, Portuguese Portugal, you can do so by selecting these two languages. Um, Again, you can group your vendors within the vendor groups page, and of course, you can create your new vendor by clicking on Create New Vendor. Below you have the list of your vendors. As this is a demo account, I only have one single vendor created yet. So you can see this is demo vendor, and again, just as with clients, if I click on the eye icon, I can see the profile page of my demo vendor. So again, I have the address of my vendor, it's his rating, the number of completed jobs. I could also have a logo or a picture of my vendor, and I can see all the data I've put into the system about my vendor. I have the assigned colleagues who are responsible for this vendor. I have the vendor's contact again with his or her details. And of course, I have the vendor's expertise, so the software service, so the service my vendor is providing to me. So this is the price we've negotiated and the price that is set between the vendor and myself. And I also have the financial information, the external jobs, the work balance, and the availability of my vendor. On the quotes, we have two options. There is quote as client and quote as vendor. So quote as client is the place where I create and I manage the quotes where I am the client. Whereas on the quotes as vendor, you can find all the quotes where I'm the vendor, whether I created that quote or whether I received a request for quote. So, for example, if I am the client, I go to quotes as client and create a quote, and I send that quote request to my vendor. So that particular vendor will see that quote request on the quotes as vendor. Me as a vendor, I can create my own quotes from scratch. So, for example, if I have a customer or a client who called me and said I need to quote for this particular translation, I can create a quote myself from scratch as a vendor to one of my clients. So again, we have two options, quotes as client and quotes as vendor. These are the things that we will show in another video where we'll see how we can create new quotes and how we can manage quotes, how we can track quotes, accept or reject quotes, or even convert the quotes into projects. Very similar to quotes, we have projects where we have projects as client and project as vendor. Again, project as client is where we have or we handle all the projects where we are the client. So we have assigned somebody to do the job for us. So we are the clients that on the projects as client. You cannot create a project as client. So if you are the client and you want to assign a job or a project to one of your vendors, you first need to create a quote as a client. That is to request a quote from your vendor, then accept it, and then the vendor can convert that quote into a project. On the projects as vendor, you can find all the projects where you are the vendor. So you are performing a project for one of your customers or clients with one or several vendors or internal colleagues. So this is where you can create your own projects. This is where you can create projects to your clients, and you can assign those the jobs of those projects to your vendors. Again, this is something that we're going to present in details in another video. On the invoices, you again have two options, outgoing invoices and incoming invoices. Outgoing invoices are the invoices you are issuing to your clients. So you are sending an invoice to your client. When you're creating a new invoice, you can select the invoiceable client jobs from the list of client jobs you have performed. You need to select the client whom you want to send the invoice, and you can do so. Of course, this is not an invoicing tool, so please note this is not an official invoicing tool. This is just a way how you can, let's say, log your invoice. So officially, you need to create your invoice externally with the proper items, the proper amount, and then create your invoice within the system where you can upload your invoice, select the items you have put on your invoice, and upload it into the system and send your invoice within the system to your client. You can of course track your invoices here as well, so you can see their statuses, its deadline, you can see whether it is overdue, you can add comments, you can even mark it as paid, etc. Within incoming invoices, you have the option to log invoices on behalf of your vendors. So for example, if you are an LSP and you have vendors who are not using the system but are working for you and are sending invoices to you, you can take those invoices and log them into the system. You can select the items they have put on their invoice, and you can save it in the system. You can track their payment deadline, their status, etc. On the reports, you have 4 types of reports: performance, production, financial reports, and forecasts. So on the performance, basically in total on the reports you have 25 types of reports. On the performance reports, you can perform different reports, or you can generate different reports based on top clients, top vendors, top colleagues, services, projects. You can of course select the period you want to focus on, so you need to select the date from and date till. You can select what you want to take into account for that report, so the creation date or the deadline, the order criteria, number of completed projects, completed jobs, revenue balance, etc. All the reports can be exported into Excel, CSV, and PDF for further processing if you want to. On the production reports, you can generate reports for projects, client jobs, external jobs, internal job services. Of course, since this is a starter account with one single client and one single vendor, I don't have too much information to show here. We will create other videos where we'll focus on reports with a lot of data later on. For financial reports, again, you can focus on revenue within one particular period of time. So, for example, a revenue invoiced from, I don't know, 1st of January till today, focusing on one particular service. Or you can generate reports for expenditure, that is, how much cost did, I don't know, some service involved, or how much do I have to pay within one particular period of time. Which is very useful is the revenue versus expenditure tab, where you can see how much you had as a revenue within a month and how much cost or expenditure you had within that particular month, and then you have a balance as well. And this is nicely shown within a graph as well. So this is something you can use to track the financial status of your business. Forecasts displays, there are 2 kind of forecasts, client and vendor forecast. So client forecast lists all the client jobs that have not been invoiced yet but completed. So that is something that you will invoice later on, so something that you will get money from. For vendor forecasts, this is where you have all the items listed that were done by your vendors but have not been invoiced yet by the vendors, but you need to pay for it later on. So this is again useful to see, to forecast your cash flow for the future. So again, there are 25 types of reports within the system, quite comprehensive way of tracking your business. As I said, within the next videos, we'll focus on most of the parts of the system individually. So please follow our next videos within our community and our channel to find out more about the system. Thank you.